Hey, welcome back to another episode of Random American, and today we're switching it up a little bit and talking about ratchets, particularly what I like and don't like. Stick around. Okay, so like I said, today we're talking about ratchets, specifically locking flex head ratchets, because I don't know if I just don't see it on my feed enough or what's going on. But this isn't a testing video. This is just a overview video, what I like, what I don't like, and what I've used and haven't used a little bit. And today we're talking about two specific brands that are kind of, sort of, almost in the same category. They're both from Home Depot, and one of them I love, one of them I hate. And we're going to talk about that. So first up, we have this here Huskey. This obviously sold at Home Depot. It takes a lot of inspiration from the gear wrench, half-inch that I have. It has the same locking style, except I think it's backwards, maybe? Of which way is locked, which way is unlocked. I can't remember exactly how many locking positions it has. I can count them. Not doing that. It has 100 teeth. It has a push-button lock, and I bought this for a very specific reason. I bought it because of an area that I have to get into on some of my engines. I like using a locking ratchet with a locking extension with a spark plug socket on the end of it. And another thing is crow's feet. Dremel out a little dimple locking extension. You can pull it up without pulling your crow's foot off, because that is super annoying. So I bought this for $25, something like that. It wasn't very much, and I'm not normally a fan of Huskey ratchets, and I'm still not. I'm not a fan of most Huskey tools. So this thing, the ratcheting mechanism works pretty good, honestly. The handle feels pretty good. It's a pretty classic feel. It's set up like a lot of ratchets that I've used before. The lock, or the push button lock, is pretty decent. So let's get into what I don't like about it, which is most things. The flex head itself is very loose, and I've used this style of flex head before. Of course, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this one. And they tend to strip off your teeth right here, and they're a little too easy to flip off. The push button, forgot to lock it back. The push button works good, but you have to push it down into here way past flush, which in a way really makes sense. You don't want to just accidentally bump it and knock your extension or socket off. But, and this is a big but, you have to shove it so far in that it's really annoying. I'd like to be able to just push on it maybe a little bit past flush, and I get my extension back. This is a snap ring style, I guess enclosure, or whatever you want to call it, which is okay, but they tend to be loose, and this one is exceptionally loose. This one is looser than my regular 3/8 gear wrench that is quite old, and it has seen better days. That's actually a really good ratchet. It's kind of my backup, old faithful kind of thing. We'll get into regular ratchets another day. But overall, this thing is just a very, very loose item. And honestly, I've used it probably 5 times. And I just kind of put it up. Another big reason why I got it was I can put it up like this and use it as a speed handle for pulling spark plugs out and putting them back in, and not using an impact and cracking them going in, which, rather than using this thing, I'd rather use an impact and crack them and have to go back and get another one. So, obviously the one I don't like, let's talk about the one that I adore. This is a Milwaukee 3/8 ratchet. This is a 12-inch. I think this is a 11-inch or 10-inch, something like that. As you can see the difference, the Milwaukee's handle is heavier, which on this length handle doesn't really matter too much. But this one feels a little bit better in the hand. I like the ergonomics of it a little bit better. I like their, for the most part, I really like their lock a lot more. It is spring loaded, so whenever you shove it back over, it'll spring itself up. You can see this one now has a lot of play, but this thing has 1,000 times more work done than this one, and this one's still looser than this. I like the switches on this a little bit better. It just seems to have a better fit and finish to it. Of course, it costs more, but I think it is punching above its weight class. I know people use that a lot, but I really do feel that. The head or the drive is super tight on this thing. I have oiled both of them quite a lot. I use motor oil and motor coat mixed, and it has seemed to work very well so far. I have a 1/2-inch drive version of this, and I will probably get into that on another video. I did have to warranty it once, but again, another video. One thing I will say about these locking, or this locking mechanism here, is since it is spring loaded, let's say you're on a bolt like this and you have to shove down and hold it, and you run an impact on the other side. You're not supposed to do it to your ratchets, but sometimes you do what you got to do. Well, you constantly holding pressure on it one way or the other, what it'll do is it will vibrate your spring-loaded little mechanism and allow it to pop out, and then this will just all of a sudden just boom out of nowhere. My 1/2-inch did it, not this one, but they use the same thing. My 1/2-inch did it, and another guy was shoving while I was shoving, and he was shoving with his foot, and he smashed my middle finger on this hand directly into a 2-inch elbow, and that fractured my finger, and that did not feel good for quite a while. But other than that, I've had really good luck out of these. This thing, I've probably had it for a year and a half, and it's worked out really, really well. This drive has never flipped on me while using it. It's never skipped teeth on me. This, I think, has backed out on me once, but that was completely my fault. So I go a little overboard whenever I oil them. I did the same thing with this one, except that it didn't back out because I haven't used it enough. So I backed it out. I pulled this apart, and I oiled everything and made sure motor coat got on everything. And I oiled this little plunger in here with the teeth on it. And whenever I put it back together, I cleaned it as best I could as far as the threads and put it back in, and I tightened it, and it started loosening up on me. So I had to pull it back out. I cleaned everything up again, and I made sure I brake cleaned these threads really good and the threads on the bolt really good, and I blue Loctited it, and that's been, oh God, maybe a year now, maybe a little bit less, and it's still tight as can be. Side to side movement on both of these. This has twice as much as this, and this one's been beat. I mean, it's really, really been beat on. So I can't complain about this one at all. I do need to get a regular ratchet in one of these because it's too big for a lot of jobs. Now, get this out of the way and just talk about this. Where does this thing fit on the market is, I'd be lying if I told you exactly how much I paid for it. I'll put it up right here if I can find it. I would honestly compare this to Snap-on, and I know everybody and their mothers compare every tool to Snap-on. Harbor Freight started that trend really hard, and I'm going to go ahead and do it here. So, dollar for dollar, I would take this over a Snap-on any day of the week. Absolutely any day. Now, that is not to say that this is better than Snap-on. because honestly, Snap-on makes really good tools. Um, they're really hard to beat. Now, I know there's a bunch of guys that have broken their drives on Snap-ons. Matco makes pretty good stuff. I really, really, really like the Matco ratchets. And I really hate to make the comparison to Snap-on and the other tool truck stuff. But honestly, if you can get a hold of one of these, which is really not that hard and it's really an inexpensive option, I would recommend this to pretty much anybody that works, that either does it professionally or just wants to have a little bit nicer tools. This is probably more of the upper end of the mid grade tooling, and I'm completely happy with it. I use it every single day. I have used it every day for quite a while, and yeah, I couldn't be happier with it. Now, am I going to tell a Snap-on guy that his Snap-on ratchet is better than this? Absolutely not. I have a couple of friends at work that have a lot of Snap-on stuff, and I tell them every time I can they can't beat the Milwaukee junk, and they laugh and they don't care because they've already paid their $400 for a 3/8 drive short ratchet or whatever Snap-on makes them pay, and they're happy about it. And they make good stuff. I have a couple of Snap-on things. There's a couple more Snap-on things that I want to get that you just cannot beat, but I don't believe that this is one of them, especially for the amount of work that I've done and the amount of money that this thing has made me. I'm going to stick with it. And don't waste your money on this. So that pretty well concludes my feelings on locking flex head ratchets. This one's really good. This one's really not. This isn't the best one on the market, but it's still pretty damn good, and I think it can make you some money. Have a good one, and I will see you on the next one.